Ladies and gentlemen, Coach Gene Clements here. I told you that I would bring you my Savannah high school hoops starting five. I actually told you I was going to give you my all Savannah, but I just I really just want to focus in on the five, right? I think a lot of times we're so quick to try to give everybody a trophy that sometimes we don't shine the light on the people that should have the light shined on them. Does that mean that there are not 10 players in the city of Savannah that's worthy of being on this top five? I'm not saying that at all. There are going to be some names on here that you don't agree with. That's cool. Tell me who you would have put on the list, right? Make your own list. It's cool. Um, but these are the five young men that I believe had the most impactful seasons, right? The most impactful seasons on their teams, and who I think have some of the best upside going forward to the next level. So, without further ado, I'm going to give you my five. Again, this is my five, not yours. Most impactful season and upside going forward. So, here is my starting five. And once you see my starting five, understand this is my starting five. So if you don't agree, I'm cool with it. I get it. I'm going to start at the bottom. So if you're looking at my list on underneath my head right now, this list right here, you will see my five. I'm going to tell you what went into my five was not only the fact that I believe that you have to have some type of balance in a starting five. I can't give you all guards in a starting five because that's not how the game is played. Nobody's winning with five guards. They're winning with more guards, but they're not winning with five guards. So I didn't want to just give you all guards or all wings. I really wanted to have it be a representation of what a starting five would look like. If I was putting a starting five together, this is the starting five that I'm putting together right now in the city of Savannah. So at my forward, it's going to be James Leach. And it's real simple of why I put James Leach on there, because he's a rim runner. He's a rim runner. He's at the rim all the time. You see what he's doing. He is attacking the basket. He gets rebounds. He averaged a double-double this year. I want to say 11 to 12 points, maybe 10, 11 rebounds. He's a guy who's a shot blocker, so he can change it. He's legit 6'6", long arms, athletic. He can jump. I remember watching him as a sophomore going, man, if they just get a little bit more meat on his bones, this young man is going to be really difficult to deal with. And he did that. He got a little more meat on his bones. He was extremely difficult to deal with this year. He was a walking highlight. Every time you turned around, he was dunking something or blocking something, sending it back the other way. A talent like that you cannot get by, and that's why he's a representative of my starting five in this Savannah starting five. My second guy is his teammate, Shamari Hugie. I know. How could Beach have two people on the starting five, yet they did not advance as far as maybe some other teams did? Well, this is how. It's because both of them are really good. And then they had a lot of guys who were figuring out, a lot of young dudes coming along. I really, and for what it was worth, if Hugie doesn't get injured, if he doesn't get injured in that Johnson game, and maybe he was injured right before that, right at the end of the season, if he has an opportunity to go into the playoffs healthy, if he has an opportunity to go into the state tournament healthy, who knows what type of run this team would have made with him and with James Leach. He's long. He's athletic. He can score at all three levels. He can shoot the three. He's got a mid-range game on him, and he'll dunk on you, as you can see from the highlights. I think that this young man has only scratched the surface as to what he's going to be able to do going forward into the rest of his career at the collegiate level. I think you'll see both Leach and Hugie become better basketball players as they progress on in their careers, because their bodies are still developing. And so Hugie, who you can tell is much bigger this year than he was last year, I think playing football absolutely helps to bring that physicality out of him. I look forward to seeing what he does going on into the future. Next up is the only underclassman that is on my list, and that is Caleb Jones. Caleb Jones from Benedictine. I believe that Caleb Jones has the opportunity, like I said with with Tony Baker, like I said with Larry Johnson, who has moved on to another area to play. I believe he has the opportunity to be the best player in this area. I think he has a complete game already as a sophomore. He was playing 4A competition and starting as a freshman. He's getting longer. He's getting more explosive. And when you get that type of length, that type of explosiveness, and you add it with skill, that's a dangerous combination. That's why, some of the other guys who have been on my past starting fives from last year and the year before that, that's why they were so special, because they combined that length and that athleticism with skill. And when you put that skill together, that's when you end up with somebody only a sophomore. So the fact that he's on this list tells you how good he is, because I left some really good players off this list, because I think that the upside of Caleb Jones is something that's going to go beyond what maybe some of the upsides of those other older gentlemen might be. Next up for me, Zaire Edwards. He's going to be the point guard on my team. And the reason why I want Zaire Edwards as the point guard on my team is because I believe that this young man is an extraordinary talent. He's somebody who's able, despite size, by the way, but despite the size that he is, he's a guy who's been able to ball out, who's been able to make people forget about his size. He plays way bigger than what he really is. He's a shooter from outside. He'll attack the basket on you. He can handle the ball. He can distribute the ball. A scoring guard. I know a lot of people will devalue things that Edwards does because he plays in a lower level division. I'm not necessarily wild about that division. I don't think there's a lot of elite level talent, but when I've seen him play against elite level talent, guess what he's done? He's balled out. 22 points a game, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals. This is a guy who is a stat filler. And again, look at the dimes that he breaks off. He's a guy who gets everybody involved. He's not a selfish basketball player, but he can fill it up. When he needs to take over and when he needs to become the focal point of the offense, he knows exactly how to do it. He can handle the ball with anybody in front of him. And that's why I want him as my starting point guard. And finally, the guy who I pick as my player of the year in Savannah, Antonio Baker. He has been phenomenal all year. He's been phenomenal for the past 2 years. This year, he added just levels of disrespect to his game where he was catching bodies left and right. He'll dunk on you in a second. Here's the funny part about Antonio Baker's game. We haven't really seen him fully flesh out his game yet because he's a much better outside shooter than what people would realize, because it's been so effortless for him to get to the basket. So when you're getting to the basket at will, when you can't keep people in front of you, why a lot of time are you settling for jump shots? That doesn't make any sense. And so you see his highlights, you see a lot of dunks, you see a lot of him attacking the basket. Why would you not attack the basket when people can't stay in front of you? He does a good job of drawing fouls. He goes to the free throw line, shoots free throws well. He plays good defense. 26, 4, and 3, if I'm not mistaken. So 20.6 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals a game. He's a guy who can play point guard. He's a guy who can play without the ball in his hands. I think he's strong enough to where he could give you some defense with guys who are a little bit more physical. And so when you put all of those things together, you see the type of pressure he was playing with You see the type of team he was on, what he was asked to do, not just this year, but last year as well. There's no doubt in my mind Antonio Baker, the most valuable player, the number one basketball player in the state, I mean in the city this year, in Savannah this year. And if coaches haven't come in on him yet, haven't come in on any of these guys, I know some of these young men have already made decisions about where they're going. Like shout out to Zaire Edwards, who's already committed to somewhere. Caleb Jones is only a sophomore. His recruitment is gonna like pick up like wildfire. I know Baker is still open, looking at all his options. I know Hugie is still open, looking for all his options. I know Leach is still open, looking at all their options. If I'm a coach at a program, I'm trying to bring all three of those guys in. I'm trying to let all three of those Savannah talents grow together and become what they're going to be in the long run. Again, congratulations to my starting five: James Leach, Shamari Hugie, Caleb Jones, Zaire Edwards, and my player of the year, Antonio Baker. Make sure that you guys check out my starting five girls, because that's a fly list as well. You probably already know who my number one is if you followed me at all, but there are also some really great young ladies on that roster as well, and I can't wait to bring it to you. Until next time, make sure that you make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm Coach Gene Clements.